Alright everyone, welcome back to the channel. I am your host, the Ice Dragon, Ray1 VR. And today we've got kind of a brand new series on this channel, and I kind of need to explain it a little bit so that way it makes a little bit more sense. But welcome to Beyond the Icy Rails. And so kind of the whole purpose of this series is to talk about things that are not typically your day-to-day items when you think about model railroading. Again, when we think about model railroading, we usually talk about like Atherton, we talk about trains, obviously, modular railways, and so forth. But when it comes to this particular series, I want to talk about items that could potentially support the hobby and things that we don't typically think about that could potentially make our model railroading experience a little bit better. And so this channel is kind of going to be talking about a plethora and wide different ranges of content. So I'm not only going to talk about tools, I'm going to talk about locations, and when we go on location, it's going to be things outside of your normal model railroading. So for example, for all those scratch builders out there, I had the idea that, what, we've got the Alamo here in San Antonio, so that gives me kind of a good excuse to go out there and do some vlogging a little bit about the Alamo, and that way I can bring like content like that into model railroading. Because if you want to get ideas about textures of the buildings, or want to get like the size of the buildings and so forth, that's stuff that I can bring to this series. So thought about it for a little bit, and I think that the title of this series kind of makes sense, that we look for things beyond model railroading, and that's kind of what I want to highlight today when it comes to this particular video. So again, if this is not your forte, then feel free, I got plenty of other content for you guys to watch. But today I want to talk about a piece of shop equipment that I grew up with. Actually, my father got one of these. So this is the Shopsmith Mark 7. Now I actually grew up with the Shopsmith Mark 5, and I had so many good memories of how just to woodwork and fixing things and customizing things. My father and I built an entire fence one time with this particular piece of equipment, and I tell you what, it's something that I want to get eventually in the future, because it's just one of those tools that is just so unique when it comes to doing woodwork. Now, I'm going to be doing a lot of woodworking in the future, because you guys know I do a modular railway, and this is something that I could definitely use. And so let me kind of explain what this is. So basically, the Mark 7, the reason why they call it the Mark 7 is because this is not your typical shop equipment. Now, when we think about, like, go back to shop class, we think about a table saw, a band saw, you've got the belt sanders and disc sanders and so forth. And typically, all of those are its own separate equipment, own separate tables, and so forth. But what the Mark 7 is basically one table here that basically transforms and converts into 7 different woodworking type of tools. And so you can see it here on the right. Again, I also want to emphasize that I am definitely not sponsored. These are tools that I've grown up with this tool, so I kind of a little bit experienced of what it does, and I tell you what, I love it. I loved it when I was a kid and working with my father, and I definitely want to get it in the future. So again, definitely not sponsored. This is just something that I want to bring awareness to for you guys. So if you're not familiar with this type of tool, hopefully, again, this whole series is about inspiring and about giving you information that could help you with your model railroading that's not typically model railroading, somewhat related. And so again, you got 7 different types of tools over here. And so we've got like a table saw, we've got a disc sander. It can be used, you can use it for lathe, you can use it for horizontal boring, you can do a drill press, a shaper, and a router. So pretty cool things here. And what's cool about this is that it's got a hinge on one side, and basically it can rotate upward into a drill press. All of this is interchangeable. You can see it's on these tubings here that basically are clamped down. You can unclamp it and then transform it into the tool that you want to use. One thing that I really do like about this is that this particular company of Shopsmith, they've got other products that you can actually add on more equipment using one motor here. And my father and I, we had a joiner, we had a belt sander, we've got Oh, I can't remember what other things we got. We had the dust collection system, so they do have their own vacuum system. And as you can see, it's kind of a 3-in-1, which is pretty cool. That you can basically attach hoses to all these different particular pieces of equipment, and be a dust collector, which is awesome. And you can suck up all that dust from any type of machine here. And what's cool about it is that one side of the Shopsmith has a tubular kind of connection pieces, and so you can put like your bandsaw onto the actual table within itself, and or anything else that you want to kind of put on there. I'm trying to get an example here. So here's a scroll saw, for example, and as you can see, now this is the Mark V, but the Mark 7, this is all digital. And so you can put your scroll saw right onto this tubular attachment and clamp it down, and then now that motor now powers your scroll saw. So the best way I can describe it is that if you got like a KitchenAid for like kitchen stuff and so forth, you know, you got the main motor, and then you got all the attachments that powers all those additional tools and so forth. This is kind of like the KitchenAid mixer when it comes to cooking, when it comes to woodworking with the Shopsmith, which is pretty cool. So kind of a little bit of an example there of the scroll saw. And I'm trying to find some other ones here. So we've got the bandsaw. So you can see here again that attaches down here, and you got a little clamp here that clamps it tight, and then you use the motor to attach it to your bandsaw, and then that drives the entire band, so that way you can do your cutting. Again, a lot of memories when working with this equipment. It was really my first exposure to shop, essentially, and man, I got so much experience from that. And it's definitely something I want to get back into, because now I am definitely rusty when it comes to woodworking, and I really want to get into it. Here is the belt sander attachment that you can put on there. And then the only thing about the belt sander is that you actually got to buy the table itself to make it go into upright position, I think. But this table is definitely worthwhile, because then you actually have a place to store all your additional tools and so forth. But yeah, definitely pretty cool. Something that I'm really interested in is this Pro planer. Now, for me, this is really big, because then I can get the wood exactly the thickness that I want. But really, the big thing that I want to use this for is to get the warp out of the boards, because that has definitely been a big pain for me when it comes to modular construction, is that you want to get that surface as, you know, level and even as possible. Now when you get wood, you know, sometimes you're going to have that warp associated with it, and the planer will help me get that warpage out. So that's definitely something I want to look into when it comes to the Shopsmith. Some other important, let's see here. Let's see. So we got the disc sanding, which is pretty cool. You got all your abrasives. Again, they got all the tools that you need. Shaping, so that's pretty cool with their, and this is the cool thing about the Mark 7, is that you've got this new attachment. They've really kind of redesigned their drill press upright position a little bit, so that way you can do your routing and shaping and all that, which is great, because again, I could use that for my modulars for sure. Yeah, I'm a big fan of this, and that's why I love thinking about taking this series and applying it, so that way, you know, it's more of, I can also kind of bring it into kind of like the tip of the day, or just general awareness. That's kind of what this series is about. And yeah, let's see, what else do we got here? Molding, pretty cool. But yeah, I think those were the main attachments that you could put on this. Now again, so we got to talk about pricing. Pricing is definitely up there when it comes to this. But again, you can probably justify that you can get all 7 different tools for a cheaper price. But my big thing is space, and you can really save a lot of space when it comes to the Mark 7. And again, it's not for the faint of heart. This is something that you will probably end up financing if you want to get this. So I can tell you the price right here. So it's $47.95. So again, that is pretty steep. And like I said, definitely something that I would consider financing. But for the things that you can do, and the versatility of this machine, I can tell you I can do so much with this. Like, I can cut the wood with the table saw, and then I've got modular legs that I got to drill holes into for my screw-in leg footings, and so getting the upright perfect 90 degrees to build those drill those holes into the wood for the legs. I cannot begin to tell you how much I want that, because I tell you what, trying to drill it by hand, I know I'm not going into that perfect 90 degrees, and this is definitely something that will help me with that. And then, like I said before, that the planer, that's definitely something I'll have to buy on the side, and I think that's like 800, 900 bucks. And again, there is a argument to be made. I think it's a little bit more. Yeah, it's actually $16.90. So again, it is a little expensive, but again, for the versatility, for the adaptability, and just for saving space, is definitely something that I would look into. Again, this is more of the, I don't want to say it's the Rolls Royce when it comes to woodworking, but for the space and for all the I don't know, the flexibility that you can get with this, I think it's well worth it. Now, others would say, no, get the tools individually, because then you don't have to transform this thing, and it can be a hassle. Again, it's apples and oranges. What works best for you? And for me, space is definitely limited, and so I definitely want to go this route. But definitely something to take into consideration. So, but with that's kind of just my general, overview of the Shopsmith Mark 7. Like I said, I have worked with the Mark 5. I've loved it, and it's definitely something that I want to get going into the future. So let me know what you guys think about this series. Again, this series is more of, what things outside of model railroading that we can potentially highlight or give a tip to, or just, bring situational awareness to, that will help you with your model railroading experience. I'm definitely excited for this series because, again, we can do so much with it. I cannot wait. So with that, guys, thank you so much again. Leave your feedback down below. And with that, I'll see you on the next video.